Right, shalom, shalom. First, I'd like to give all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and honors to you brothers out there in the highways and the byways, teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. And I want to respond to something that Charleston White said in this interview or podcast or whatever the hell it is, regarding Lucy. All right. Now, what you got to understand is there's actual science, empirical science, truth, knowledge, and then there's pseudoscience. And when it comes to Esau, Edom, Esau is happy to push pseudoscience if it means degrading or destroying the faith of the people in the Bible, which is his aim, and to push his wicked, nasty, occultic doctrines. And evolution would be one of them. All right. Evolution is a deception. Evolution is designed to destroy the faith of people in the Bible. And with evolution comes a whole bunch of pseudoscience that they created that most people accept today as just science. And I always go into, you got to understand that beginning with the Lunar Society and the Illuminati, the scientific community was infiltrated and is now controlled by witches and warlocks. They're not just scientists, they're witches and warlocks. So they have no problem lying and deceiving the people if it means achieving their goals. Okay? And so through the media, through the scientific community, they push certain things as science that everyone accepts as truth. But if you accept it as a truth, for example, dinosaurs, evolution, 3 million years ago, if you accept these things as truths, you cannot believe in the Bible. I don't care what you say. If you accept dinosaurs 3 million years ago as being a truth in your heart, a scientific fact, then you cannot have faith and believe in the Bible. And this is why they push it in the schools, they push it in the media, they push it on your children, and they call it science. Okay? Isaiah 45:12 says, I have made the earth and created man upon it. Right? Man was created. Well, they didn't evolve. We were created just like every other creature. Right? Even my hands have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts have I commanded. This is the Lord's creation, which is detailed in the book of Genesis. And the earth isn't millions of years old. They have to say millions of years to make the madness that they're speaking plausible. All right. So I'm gonna quickly get into it and break it down, but let's listen to this.
Because we never ate like them. We have the same diets. We eat at the same restaurant. Now we go to the same doctors. So of course they're gonna diagnose us. Yeah. They don't know how to diagnose. That's why they study our bodies. They don't study their bodies. The oldest bones is an African woman named Lucy.
See, that's a lie. And so the reason why Negroes hold on to that is because they've been taught to have pride in Africa, which there is no pride to be had in Africa. Right? We're not African, we're Israelites. All right? We're a people before we dwell in any place, first and foremost. We're the children of God. Secondly, Africa is not the heart or the beginning of civilization. Civilization on this side of the flood began in Mesopotamia, the Fertile Crescent. That's what's recorded in the Bible. That's what's recorded in real archaeology and recorded history. All right? After the flood, you go into the book of Genesis. Let's get that real quick. Genesis, the 11th chapter. Right, Genesis 11:1, and the whole earth was one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, right? The land of Shinar is talking about the Iraq region, which we know as Iraq today. All right. This is where the root of civilization is, right? On this side of the flood. It's not no Africa. I mean, Shinar. Ancient name for the territory later known as Babylon or Chaldea, right? The Chaldea was a region. Let me show you, right? This is Chaldea. It forms part of what's known as the Fertile Crescent, right? See the yellow part going round? That's also known as the Fertile Crescent. This is where all peoples were, and they branched out from there into Africa, into Europe, and northwards and southwards, right? And this is a known fact. This is what recorded history tells us. The oldest civilizations are from the Chaldean region, Babylon, Akkad, right? These predated the development of Egypt and so on and so forth, right? But what they want you to believe is everybody came out of Africa because they want to push evolution. And Jake accept that because they want to be African and they think this, oh yeah, see the first people were from, no, the first people were not from Africa. On this side of the flood, everyone came off a boat and dwelt in this area. The boat came off in the area of Turkey, around Mount Ararat, and then they dwelt in the Fertile Crescent. And from there, they were scattered abroad. All right? This is true history. And if you want to go back before that, right, the Lord created man and placed them in paradise, okay? In the earth. It's not, we weren't come from a monkey in Africa. This is ridiculous, right? Genesis 11:2. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Now I want to jump down to what happened. Right? Verse 8. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. All right? So it was from there that man scattered himself throughout the earth. And it ended up pretty much like this, where you had people dwelling in Europe. Japhet was dwelling up in Europe kind of area. Ham was dwelling in the east and north of Africa, and so on and so forth. Coming from this central area here where everybody was dwelling.
Study her the DNA from a black woman, not a white woman.
Right. The Lucy was not a woman. Lucy was not human. They gave it the name Lucy. Lucy was not a human. Lucy was an ape that they found in the ground. There wasn't no woman. It wasn't a black woman. Right?
Nigga, they take our organs to put in their old white.
All right. So these people, you know, this is one of these people, and then they start worshiping melanin like melanin makes you special. Melanin doesn't make anybody special. What makes us special is we're the chosen people of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. All right. Melanin doesn't make you special. Melanin's normal. Not having melanin is abnormal. All right. But, you know, these Afrocentrics, they start going a bit insane with it. All right. Melanin is normal. The plants have it. People have it. It doesn't make you special to have melanin. It's normal, right? It's just like having fingers and a thumb. It's normal, isn't it? If you didn't have no fingers and thumbs, you're abnormal. But then having fingers and thumbs don't make you special. It's a normal thing, all right? But anyway, right, so if you look up Lucy, right, they say Lucy and they give it some special name. And they say it's a 40% of a skeleton of a female hominin. Yeah, some type of ape. That's what they found. They found a fossil of some kind of ape in the ground. All right. And then through their false science, they aged it between 3.2 to 3.7 million years and decided to say that this was a human ancestor. This is a human relative, even though the bones are not human. Do you understand? right? And then they start talking about how it walked and all this stuff, which they have no idea because all they have is bones, not even a complete skeleton. This is what they, so allegedly, this is what they found. And from this, a couple bones, right? They said this is a black woman. This is madness. And by the way, they found it, right, in sedimentary rock, and the way they age it is through a flawed science known as radiometric dating. And they didn't radiometric date the actual bones. They made it radiometric dated some ash that was around the bones. It's all BS, right? It's all BS to further this. Because once they can get you to believe, 3.5 million years ago, Lucy, now the whole Bible becomes a myth to you. And this foolishness becomes truth. And now they can manipulate you into the Luciferian doctrine. So 2 Peter 3:3, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, right? Because that's what they turn you into. When you believe in the pseudoscience, you become a scoffer of the Bible. Oh, the Bible's just a fairy tale. The Bible's not true. Walking around after their own lusts and saying, where is the promise of his coming? Which if you become unfaithful in the record, you become unfaithful in the prophecy. For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation. For this they willingly are ignorant, that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished. And that's why they find all these fossils in sedimentary layers of rock, because those sedimentary layers of rocks were formed by the flood, by sediment from the flood. The whole world pretty much is covered in sedimentary rock for a reason, because at one point the whole world was underwater. This is the facts. But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and the perdition of ungodly men. What they want people to disregard the Bible as being absolute truth. This is the whole purpose of it, and this is what the Lunar Society and these guys were doing when they come up with all the principles of geology and all that. Because Esau invented what's known as prehistory, right? Now you have recorded history or written history, right? And recorded history matches the timeline of the Bible, right? According to recorded history, the earth is around 6,000 years, or man has been about 6,000 years, which lines up with the biblical timeline. And then so therefore the earth itself is really only about 11,000 years old, because you're adding in time for the creation, which is 7,000 years. So 7,000 years, and then you add on to that recorded history, which is recorded in the Bible, which is recorded everywhere, written history, then you get to around 11,000 years. Maximum, give or take. Right? It says recorded history begins with the accounts of the ancient world around the 4th millennium BCE, 4,000 years before who they call Christ, and now we're in 2000 after. So you see the timeline. Esau had to invent what's known as prehistory, and prehistory expands to millions of years, according to them. Now, this was set up by a guy named Charles Lyell, who was a witch, a warlock, one of these guys that I'm telling you about. Now, he came up with the theory known as the principles of geology. All right. So previous to Charles Lyell, everyone understood that the earth was young, and the formations we see on the earth are mainly due to cataclysmic events, namely the flood. That the massive high scale geological formations we see was created over a short space of time by a catastrophic event, which is the flood. He come up with uniformitarianism, right? He wrote a book called Principles of Geology, which said that everything we see on the earth happened over millions of years. And this became the prevailing theory because, again, the people who were controlling the scientific community, like the Royal Society and so forth, they became nothing more than a bunch of witches and warlocks and masons. And this was set up, this pathway was set up to support evolution, and it was all done to what? Destroy people's faith in the Bible. But it's not true. Okay, uniformitarianism goes hand in hand with evolution because you couldn't have evolution without the other. Because the only way people believe that evolution is halfway even plausible is because of the timeline. And so you go back to this Lucy thing 3.7 million years ago. It's garbage. And Charles White said it was a black woman. Where did he get that from? It was an ape bone they found in the ground. They added all the rest. All right. 1 Timothy 6:20 says, "O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called." False science, man. But people like hear these things and they hear it and they think it's true because Esau said it, and the man's got a degree and he calls himself a professor and he's a scientist. Not knowing that they lie all the time and they get caught lying all the time. Archaeologists get caught lying all the time, making things up to fit their theories. Like when they put feathers on a damn lizard and called it Archaeopteryx and said, see, lizards evolved from birds because we found feathers on a dinosaur. And then it turned out they glued them damn feathers on. It was all a lie. It's all bullshit. This man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. He's a liar. That's why the scripture says to deceive the whole world. Because you got people walking around with information in their brain that they think is absolute truth because they call it science when it's an absolute lie. And that's part of the deception of the devil. That's why he so confidently says, they found Lucy, a black woman. What the hell are you talking about?
Study their bodies. They're same doctors. So of course they're same disease. So of course they're gonna diagnose us. Yeah. They don't know how to diagnose. That's why they study our bodies.
Negronomics right now.
They don't study their bodies.
Yeah. Anyway, this is just Negronomics. And it sounds good. See, we're black, so our bodies are different. It's just Negronomics.
The oldest bones is an African woman named Lucy. Those studies.
Yeah, no, there's not. No, it's not. Okay, they don't. First of all, they don't know those are the oldest bones. Secondly, it's not a woman. All right. It's just an ape they found in the ground in Africa and Ethiopia. Simple as that. And they used it to forward pseudoscience, evolution, and all this foolishness. All right. All right. So let me finish off with this because the scriptures break it down. Right. So 2 Esdras 14 and 10, it says, "For the world has lost his youth, and the time began to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts," right? Those 12 parts represent 12,000 years. "And the 10 parts of it are gone already." So at that point, it had already been 10,000 years of history, and that's including the creation. "And half of a 10th part, 10 and a half. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption." So the biblical timeline has always been set. And what they don't want you to do is live in a biblical timeline, live in reality. They want you to live in their bullshit illusion of a world where evolution exists. And there's a black woman named Lucy from 3.7 million years ago. You know, and then they found the bones and they know what color the hair is, what it looked like. This is BS. This is Lucy. This is BS, man. It's witchcraft, man. Look, lived 3.7 million years ago. They know what the diet was. And all this, no, you don't. They found some bones somewhere. Some ape that died in the flood probably, or maybe not in the flood, just some ape that died and is in the ground. And they ran with all this. And then people hear it and just accept it as truth. Nah, mate. Let me show you something.
If the milk turns out to be sour, I ain't the kind of pussy to drink it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man, this milk is hella sour, man. We ain't drinking that, man. You know, and so I've always been into science. But through the Spirit of the Lord, man, the Lord, helped me to discern the truth from the lie, man. And you realize that the scientific community is extremely evil. It's extremely evil. It's filled to the brim with witches and warlocks that have lied and distorted information for the sole purpose of destroying the faith of the people in the Bible. And this is why people are so faithless today, because so much of what they deem to be truth is a lie. And that lie is against your belief in the Bible, man. Your children will come out of school believing the Bible is a fairy tale simply because what they learn in science, because it doesn't add up. Dinosaurs. 75 million years ago, the dinosaurs, all this BS. Black, what's it called? Black holes, which is theory, don't exist. It's all bullshit that they had to, in physics, they had to make up to support another lie. It's all lies upon lies. And they have to make up more lies to support the lies they're already told. And they try and make it sound scientific. You can make something sound scientific when it's not. And then to the average person, they just accept it because they don't know no better. You ain't fooling me because the Spirit of the Lord is with me, man. I know it's bullshit. I'll call you out. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch on that, man. To hell with these man and some bullshit Lucy, man. All right, that ain't true. Stick to the scriptures, man.